Welcome. Today, what we are going to do is, well, multiple things. We're going to start with a demonstration.
Is that sand?
That shows you kind of some ideas of permeability. Okay? So on the screen, I have a video of a video. Well, I guess it's not a video of a video. But I have a camera feed of a bowl of flour with chocolate chips.
Ooh, I like chocolate.
They're actually not chocolate chips. They're like something that you make like melt to like dip chocolate in. And then I have some nerds in here. Nerds.
I was gonna say it looks
Alright,
like it
so
powdered.
today what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about permeability. Okay, so if something is permeable or impermeable, what does that mean? So let's start with something very simplistic. Here is my bowl. I have a membrane. Wait a minute. We have a membrane covering this bowl right now. And if I send this material through that membrane, wow, that's really delayed.
It's a 3-second delay.
Oh my goodness, that's really delayed.
If you want to try to change
it goes through. Okay? And what went through?
Everything.
Everything. So is that permeable or impermeable?
Permeable.
Permeable, right?
Yeah.
So if I had, this is going to get a little trickier. If I had something that was, say, like this, that paper is impermeable, right? So that's impermeable. Okay? But then what we have is we have some variations kind of in between. That is weird. I think it might be because I'm trying to airplay and record at the same time on this older iPad. I don't know. So we have our solution. And what we have is I have a string, a spaghetti colander. There it is. Okay. It's like magic almost. Okay. So what we can do is we can send the flour mixture through the colander. And then what we can do is we can go through and we can sift what we have. And if we go through, we can then make some observations about what's left. Which is weird because on here it's not lag. Yeah, on the iPad itself it's not lag. So what went through the nerds? I mean, there's a few nerds, but for the most part, the nerds and the flour went through, right? So what is this membrane permeable to?
Flour and nerds.
Flour and the nerds. Was it impermeable to?
Chocolate.
The chocolate, right? So is this membrane permeable, impermeable, or semi-permeable?
The last one.
Semi, or we could sometimes use the term selectively permeable, right? The idea of permeability is, oh my goodness, someone is making a mess up here. It's kind of a relative term, right? So what is it permeable to? What is it impermeable to? It depends upon the membrane. So if I use a different membrane, like this strainer, I gotta help it along a little bit. This doesn't pour the best. Okay, so now we have that membrane. And we sift. And we sift and sift and woo, oh, that's good technique. That is good sifting technique. I can reflect upon it because of the lag. Okay, but what we're left with is some chocolate chips And what else is in there? Well, here, let's go this way. What's not in the bowl?
Everything besides the flour.
Well, what is in the bowl? Sorry, poorly worded question.
Flour.
The flour, and
Nothing.
only the flour, right? There's no nerds in here. There's no chocolate in here, so there's only nerds. So what's true about this membrane? Permeable, impermeable, or semi-permeable? Semi-permeable, but is the permeability, the selective or the semi-permeability the same in these two membranes? No, right? So the idea is different membranes might let some things through differently than some other things. For example, a door is like that door versus a screen door. They're both doors, but they're going to let different things through. Okay? So something can be selectively permeable, but different things can have different selective permeability. Okay, so we could talk about like maybe this is a, I don't know, a muscle cell versus a skin cell. Okay? Different things have different permeabilities. That is what those are. This amazing demonstration I was trying to show you is selective permeability. See, now it has to be because it was recording and air playing at the same time. But okay, so permeability. Okay, so let's.
Sure, do more fix it.
No, it's just,
Since I have
it
this.
was
one
interesting watching it that delay,
here. Sure.
as you guys know.
Yeah, 'cause we were.
Can we
All right,
watch? Can we
so
watch?
we are going to start, I guess not start, continue today with a video about the club. Now, I should probably add a crash course to it. Okay, we don't want to be a little bit more selective with the club thing. All right, so we're going to start with this video. All right, so some of those things, again, we haven't discussed yet. The sheet you picked up on the way in, I want you to grab two colors, whether it's pen, like two different colors pens, you want to go into my bucket of stuff and grab some stuff. There are some colored pencils in the back. I'm going to request, though, that if you take colored pencils from the back, you put them back nice color sorted in the bucket in the thing in the back. However, the bucket of stuff, we can just throw back in the bucket of stuff. This is randomness, that's orderly. Okay?
Juggle pencils.
Juggo pencils. Barrel. The barrel of pencils. It's more fun than a barrel of pencils, everyone. A barrel of candy.
I don't like that. Bleistift in German for pencil. Barrel of Bleistift.
I know what's better than a barrel of pencils. A barrel of candy.
Banana party. That's a threat.
Why don't you have bananas?
So while that one was there's a few random ones on the
Oh, I see.
desk with other ideas. All right, real quick while you guys are grabbing from the barrel of pencils. Right at the end of class yesterday, in this hour at least, we didn't quite get to this slide, and that's where we kind of left off. So earlier I had used the example of a water balloon. Right? And if you have a water balloon and you fill it with water, the water balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but eventually what would happen to said water balloon?
It would burst.
Pop, right? Okay, it would go woo! And that's bad if that's yourself. Plants have the benefit of having an extra layer on the outside of the cell membrane called the cell wall, okay? And if this is my cell wall, if I take a balloon and I put the balloon in the cell wall and I start filling the balloon with water, eventually it hits the rigid cellulose cell wall and it can't go out any further. So at some point, pretend it doesn't bulge out the top. But what's going to happen is it's going to reach this point and it's going to push against the cell wall and it can't rupture or won't rupture as likely rupture. Okay? And that's what's going on with plants. So if a plant starts to droop and wilt, that big organelle centrally located in plant cells, stores stuff. It's help me out here.
Start with a
Big. Oh, that's it. That vacuole. Okay. So what happens is that vacuole swells up and it pushes against the cell wall. But when it's wilted, it's lacking water and it's like. Oh, I'm sorry. That was. And it gets sucked inwards, right? And it'll actually pull away from the cell wall, and they droop. But you water it, and then what happens? That vacuole goes. Oh, I'm sorry. I should be on the camera. Right, and it gets bigger. Okay, but what happens is it hits the cell membrane. It creates some osmotic pressure. They call it turgor pressure. Pushes against the cell membrane, and it becomes unwilted. Turgid, apparently, is that term. I don't know.
Alright.
Okay, so things to look at real quick. On the very top, you are going to want to define isotonic, hypertonic, and hypotonic. Okay? On the very, very top, there's a couple terms, okay, well, that we want you to define. Okay? These are in your notes. They're also on the screen right now, but on top of that worksheet, there's 4 terms. The first one is diffusion. I'll tell you, osmosis. Diffusion of water. Osmosis is diffusion of water. Osmosis is diffusion of water. Hypotonic, isotonic, hypertonic, hypotonic are terms that we're going to be using.
How do you spell diffusion?
Difffusion. All right. So when we talk about the movement of molecules, we are talking about concentration gradients, the difference in concentration, steepness of a slide. For our purposes, when we talk about concentration, we are going to talk about strictly numbers, like how many molecules are on this side of the picture versus this side of the picture. In reality, it's not the number of molecules, it's the concentration of molecules. So if I have like 3 grains of salt in this water bottle, and if I have 3 grains of salt in this bowl, I have the same amount of salt, but if I fill this with water and I fill this with water, the concentrations are different. We okay with that? Okay. Just because I have 3 grains of salt in here and 3 grains of salt in here, if I fill them with water, I still have 3 grains of salt in each, but this is going to be more concentrated than this. So when we talk about this, we're really talking about concentrations. That's really what we're looking at. But what we are going to do for our purposes of our models, because models are just a way for us to portray information, we're going to count molecules. So on that worksheet, we have some water molecules and we have some solute molecules. And solute is the stuff that gets dissolved. So it's the stuff that we dissolve things in. Or I'm sorry, the stuff that gets dissolved. So solute could be salt, it could be sugars, it could be sodium, it could be potassium. It's things, oops, that was actually what I wanted. It's things of that nature. Okay? So why do you have two different colors? The reason for two different colors is so we can color code. It's a very nice visual representation if we do some color coding. So of one of your two colors, you're going to pick one to be solute, and it will be solute for this entire activity. The other color is meant to be water, and will be water for this entire activity. So then we have vertical columns, and those columns are things that we can answer questions about. So Mr. DeBoer is choosing pink for the solute, okay? And he is choosing blue, of course, blue, it makes sense, for water, okay? But it can be any two colors. So then what we want to do is we want to physically go through and color and count how many solute particles we have. Okay, so since we're going to start with, we're starting with water. So on the outside, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 water molecules. Now, before he writes anything else, with his blue marker, he can just make in blue, as we can color code this very nice visually, we can write 4, right? Because we have 4 water molecules outside of our beaker. Okay, see what we're doing so far? And then we go through and we count how many we highlight and color. Just quick, it doesn't have to be perfect coloring. Okay, do some quick coloring. And we had 3 waters on the inside. How many solutes do we have on the outside? We have 2. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on the inside. Okay? Now, diffusion, mosh pit, right, is the random movement of molecules from areas of blank concentration to blank concentration. If there's Mr. DeBoer here going, woo, biology, and there's 24 of you outside going, woo, biology, and we open up the door, which way is which direction is more people going to flow? Into the classroom?
Into.
Or out of the classroom?
In.
Right? Concentration was higher or lower outside?
Higher.
Higher. So when we talk about diffusion, it's always from high concentration to low concentration. So if we take a look at our pink solutes, we have 2 on the outside, 4 on the inside. Which one's bigger? Good, whoever that was, nice job. So which way are these molecules, these pink molecules, these solute molecules going to diffuse? Assuming they're permeable to the membrane, which way will they flow? Out of the cell or into the cell, or will they stay the same? We're looking at pink. Outside is 2, inside is 4. Which way will they flow? They'll flow from high concentration to low. So we can take our pink highlighter and we can draw a pink arrow, and we can draw a pink arrow going out of the cell because we can color code everything. So pink, all of our solutes are going to be pink, right? So the pinks are going to flow out because they went from high to low concentration. Water concentration. The blue molecules in Mr. DeBoer's example. We had 4 on the outside, 2 on the inside, 3 on the inside. Where is the concentration higher? On the outside or inside? On the outside. And which way does water diffuse? From high to low or low to high? Diffusion of any molecules is from high to low. We just call water diffusion osmosis, a specialized type of diffusion. So my blue line is going to be flowing inwards. That's the way the net movement of molecules is going to go. Okay? So that's what's going to happen. We have a 4 and a 3. We have a 2 and a 4. Now we can kind of go through and we can answer these questions about this beaker. So the concentration of water, the blue molecule, is blank compared to the cell. Outside, so we're talking the solution that's surrounding the cell, that little thing, bubble is a cell. So is the concentration of water out on the outside, is it higher, lower, or the same as on the inside? 4 versus 3 on the outside is higher. The solution, the outside, is higher than it is on the inside. So this is like choose the answer, right? So our water molecules, we have 4 on the outside, we have 3 on the inside, is higher outside than inside. Which way will the water then move? Into the cell, out of the cell, or...
We drew an arrow.
We drew an arrow, right? Or will it be equally in and out? And we already decided that it's going to be into. Okay, so now we're just answering the questions. It's always going to go from the big number to the small number of that color. Okay, that's why we color coded. So if water's flowing into the cell, masses, like how much matter, we're talking kind of sort of weight, what's going to happen to the mass of the cell? Will it increase if it gains water? Right, we said water's going in, so is it going to gain mass? Is it going to lose mass? Or will the mass of the cell remain the same? Based upon water and only the water. It's going to increase, right? Because water is going into the cell. So it's going to increase. Okay? Now, we stop looking at the blue things, and we start looking at the solute particles. The concentration of solute, could be salt, could be sugar, could be whatever, in the solution, that's on the outside, is that higher, lower, or the same compared to the cell, which is the inside. So we did the numbers, that's why we did these intentionally. On the outside, is the pink number bigger, smaller, or the same as the pink number on the inside? Smaller! Good! Whoever that was, small. Was that you?
It was me.
Was that you? Oh, that was you, okay. Okay, I thought it was you. Alright, so, it was well done if it was, I was going to give you a great job. Okay, so it's lower on the outside, right? Now, terminology-wise, is this solution hypertonic, hypotonic, or isotonic? Now, before you answer, what does the prefix hyper mean? Above normal, right? What does hypo mean? Below, and iso means equal, right? So, is the solute concentration higher, lower, or the same? It's lower, so therefore it'd be hypotonic. This is a hypotonic solution compared to the cell. And we're always going to compare the solution to the cell. We're not going to try to confuse you, but just so you know, we could go, how does the cell compare to the solution? We ain't going to do that, though. We aren't going to be doing that. Okay, we're always going to compare the solution to the cell.
Mr. Davies?
Yeah.
How to remember it, think of high and hyper, so think of higher and so think of O as low. O low.
Oh, or, yeah, okay. That's a good idea. Okay, so we're going to use the exact same color coding scheme in this one as we did before. We're going to go through and say how many solutes are there, how many pinks are on the outside, how many blues are on the outside, how many pinks are on the inside, how many, I don't even remember what I said and what I haven't said. So Mr. DeBoer is going through and he's looking at the water, and then he's going to go through and do the solutes. Okay, so we have 4 pink solutes on the outside, we have 4 pink solutes on the inside, we have 3 blue water molecules on the outside, 3 blue water molecules on the inside. So, what happened yesterday when we were doing our mosh pit, and we started with 24 of you outside and the 2 of us inside, and we reached equilibrium. So we had 13 and 13. Our numbers were equal. Did the party stop? We were still like, biology! We're still going nuts, right? So what happened, did some of you randomly exit the room during that mosh pit still? Yeah, right? Some of you are like, no, I'm leaving, but I can't help it, mosh pit. So some of you were like, no, I don't want to leave. But then some of you were like, yay, I'm getting in. Okay, but the net movement is the same, right?
I'm waiting for the teacher to close the door again.
So at that point, does the party stop? No, right? It keeps going. Okay, we're still going to have our mosh pit. But when we start looking at the amount of water molecules, the water molecules in this example are the same on the inside and the out. Okay, so will the cells move into, out of, or equally in and out? They're going to be equally moving in and out, right? The net movement of molecules is 0. For every one person that diffuses in, on average, one person is going to diffuse out. The party didn't stop, okay? But it's just going to have no net movement. So what's going to happen to the overall mass of the cell based upon water and water alone? It's not going to change, right? It's going to remain constant. It will not change. Because on average, the amount of water that goes in is going to equal the amount of water that goes out. No net movement. Now, if we talk about the solutes, what's true about the solutes? Is it higher on the outside? Is it higher, lower, or the same as on the inside? Same. So now if we use the vocab, is it hypertonic, hypotonic, or isotonic? Iso. Okay, now we haven't gotten there quite yet. But let's make a quick observation about our water concentration compared to our solute concentration. What's true about these two? They're opposites of each other. If it's the same here, it's going to be the same here. Now we don't have the other version of it yet, but that's the intent of it. Okay? So,
Can you wait a minute?
we will
Yep.
have to finish this tomorrow. Now, before you get up and move, some of you got colored pencils from the barrel of pencils, and these just get to randomly dump in here. However, if you put them back there,
Just attach
you
it that
need
way.
to color sort them and put them back
Overhead?
back there.
Yes.
Okay, below.